Hi there, it's Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com here with a sort of little spoiler video. This is more of a review video for the Magic 2015 Clash Pack. Now I'm going to give my first impressions of the deck and the financial value of the deck. This one's actually a special one because it has a lot of value in it right off the bat, particularly from one card, and we'll get to that in a minute. The MSRP for this one is actually $30. I think that's what event decks have been in the past. I'm trying to think if they've been $25 or $30, but this is going to come with 2 decks that you can play against a friend. I like the direction that Magic is taking with involving more people. Coming from, I've talked about this before, that I help run a local game store, and Wizards has done an awesome job of giving us product and to actually start to pass out to new players and to really encourage getting friends. And this is just another way that Magic is going to encourage people to actually play with a friend and get other people in the process into Magic. And that'll be really, really good for stores such as my own, where we're in a very rural area, so we really need the maximum potential of players as possible. So I think that's a start in the right direction. We already do have 2-player product, though, in the dual decks. So Clash Packs are a little bit redundant there. I did like the idea of event deck being able to be pre-made, ready to go to play. Now this one, they say you can combine the 2 decks to actually create a deck that is ready for tournament play, and we'll see if that actually can achieve it. And this is where I think it does miss the mark, and decks in the past have been a little bit better, a little more fine-tuned at actually being competitive in the Friday Night Magic or tournament scene than this Clash Pack is. But all in all, I do think it's a plus. There is one striking problem I have with this, and we'll go over the deck list and I'll show you why. This is an M15 deck, and keep that in mind. This is for M15. The only M15 cards that are new to this pack, I know the M15 is a lot of reprints as well, but Griptide has been printed before, and I believe it isn't Griptide in Standard at the moment. I can't remember if it is or not, but a lot of these are actually from the Theros block, and yes, they do that. They tend to do that in a lot of the event decks before, but it's kind of disappointing that we didn't at least get to see one rare from the new set. Well, I guess this one does have Aetherspouts, so maybe I just overlooked that, because we do have these. Aetherspouts is a really cool card too. It's the one that returns all attacking creatures, either the top or bottom of their library, for 5 mana. But I don't know, I would like to see a lot more of the M15 influence rather than the Theros influence. So going down the first one, so we have Fate and Fury. Those are the 2 decks that then can be combined into a rug deck. So this one's going to be green-red, and the other one is going to be green-blue. So yes, you can combine these two to make a rug deck, and it definitely does have a lot of cards that would fit into a rug type strategy. So we have again, the rares are kind of weird in here, like Hypnotic Siren, and no really way to generate 7 mana that easily. I mean, to get up to 7 mana, you're usually just me casting this as a 1-drop. It almost feels like the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx should have been the other way around. But then again, if you're trying to go rug, Nykthos Shrine of Nyx isn't as good as it could be in a monocolored or a monocolored splash a color type deck. So again, the Fate, though, is a pretty cool deck. You have card draw, you have stall, a lot of return, a lot of bounce. I got some negates in here as well. And then, so between Jason Ingenuity and Divination, you have the card draw. And then it does have that little control, more of a bounce or make your guys weaker type of strategy. And it does have, right off the bat, it does have some decent money cards. Like Prophet of Kruphix is cool. It's a cool spec target to just pick up loads and loads of these, because this is going to be an EDH favorite for years to come. Blue and green is a very, very popular color combination, whether they have another color in it or just blue-green themselves. I read somewhere that the Prime Speaker Zagana is actually top 10 of commanders played, and just people really like to brew around that particular commander. I don't play a lot of commander. Again, it's on my to-do list to show you my commander deck. I'm going to get to it eventually. I've had a lot on my plate lately, doing a bunch of M15 spoilers here, so I'll show you that as soon as soon as I can show you that EDH deck. We're actually trying to get into EDH more at the store, as it does appeal to an entirely different crowd than the tournament players such as myself. So Prophet of Kruphix is great. We do know the power of Prognostic Sphinx in block. I still am going on the limb here to say that Prognostic Sphinx was meant for block, and I don't think it's going to be as good as it was in Standard. The reason why Prognostic Sphinx was so good in the Block Pro Tour is because it dodged the dreaded Elspeth, and it also dodged the Bile Blight, and I believe there was something that killed a 4 toughness thing as well. Maybe not. But most of the removal that people were running in the format, Prognostic Sphinx was able to just flat out dodge, or able to discard a card to give it hexproof. So it became very, very powerful on that aspect. And then the ability to scry 3 was huge in the format. So Prognostic Sphinx isn't a bad card, but I think this is the second... Correct me if I'm wrong, I swear there was another printing in a sealed product of Prognostic Sphinx, and I may be wrong. I want to say it was in just an intro pack, but that is what's keeping it down to its bulk price. But again, this is a cool little deck, though. You got Horizon Chimera. That works perfect in a Rogue strategy or a green-blue. It's a favorite in Limited for me, and I definitely have built some constructed decks with it. So then on to the other notable cards. Kuro's Followers, great card. Again, this card's going to hold its value from... I mean, it probably is just a bulk uncommon at the time being. And the problem with Commander, though, is there's the alternate art version. And speaking of alternate art, these do contain alternate art. We'll get to that in a second. So there is some more incentive to actually buying this, as the Prognostic Sphinx will have alternate art here, and so will a few of the other cards. And so the other rare, again, is Hypnotic Siren. Kind of awkward in this deck, but it will be a nice little replacement for Judge's Familiar in the mono blue, if mono blue is a thing come September with the new rotation. So let's go on to Fury. Oh, it also has a Temple of Mystery in here, which is value, even though it is the least expensive of the temples. But we'll have to wait and see longevity, how popular the Temple of Mystery will be compared to the rest of them. Breeding Pool is very popular compared to the other shocks as far as Eternal formats. And then if you go back into the Tropical Island, it's one of the most popular lands. So we'll see. Now we go on to Fury. We have the four more Elvish Mystics. This poor guy has been printed. I remember when this was $1 common, I guess Wizards did not want that. So now this guy is now being reprinted in M15, but he's also a 2 of in there was a bunch of free product M14 intro packs. They're not intro decks. They're like just packs you could give out, local game stores could give out, and they have, I believe, 40 cards in them, and there was 2 Elvish Mystics in that. So Elvish Mystics are everywhere now with the reprints. So they're common as mud, so I don't think that these will ever hold value. I mean, I used to be a big slum lord. What I mean by that is I'd pick up a lot of uncommons and commons and sell those. I don't know if I've ever talked about this before, but I paid for an entire Grand Prix one time by the day before, going around and picking up Flinthoof Boars. There's a thing called grinders the day before Grand Prix, and people will leave their quote-unquote draft trash, and the only draft that was available to actually win the grinder was M14 at the time. That was or M13 at the time. That was the set they were doing for the drafts. So I went around, and I believe like Channel Fireball or another vendor was actually they're selling Flinthoof Boars for $2.25 because the RG aggro deck was so popular at the time, and they're buying them for $1. So I went around, I believe I picked up 43 Flinthoof Boars and sold them to one of the vendors. Well, there's a few other cards that I was picking up and just selling them to vendors. And so, I do have that time in my life that I was a quote-unquote slumlord by, basically trading up with commons and uncommons. I actually used to buy people's bulk for a penny a piece in hopes to actually pick up cards I could then sell to vendors or just to players. You'd be surprised at how many players are like, hey, I'm missing and then I'd be the only one at my local game store or other places actually bring commons and uncommons, and then people would actually need them, and I'd be able to make a killing off of it. But anyway, that's my little history with commons and uncommons. I still do look at commons and uncommons. You look at Gitaxian Probe, and is a $2.25 common. I used to have loads and loads and loads of those before my collection was stolen, just by picking up people's draft trash and just the stuff they didn't want by buying their bulk. So yeah, definitely, if you are new to Magic and new to Magic Finance, that is a route that you can take because it's free. Picking up people's draft trash is free. You just have to ask, hey, you even want that? They just leave it around. Magic players leave their stuff around. They don't want to pack it out. And you just pack it out for them. And it does, if there is your own, you're making little just from sorting. But as soon as you get really efficient, especially since I work at a local game store, I'm very efficient in sorting. And I can just, I should have to tape it sometime how fast I can go through bulk and separate true bulk from actual stuff with value. Anyway, another card, Voyaging Satyr, great little card with Nykthos Shrine of Nyx. So we have a Nykthos Shrine of Nyx, a Temple of Mystery so far. We're getting up to that $30 mark pretty quickly. The other rares out of this deck are going to be Faded Intervention, nothing special about that. I believe it does have the alternate art. We'll definitely look at that. Genesis Hydra and 2 Reclamation Sage. Those are actually good cards from M15. I'll have to check those out. It's the one that comes into play and destroys an enchantment or an artifact. And I actually like Generator Servant too. This is the guy that costs 2 mana that you can actually tap and sacrifice for 2 colorless mana. And if it's spent towards a creature, that creature gains haste. Very, very good card. Generator, definitely. It almost made my top 10 list from the M15 of cards that I was anticipating brooding around. Let's see here. So we have a Hydra Broodmaster. A lot of people have claimed that this is a sleeper. I tend to agree with them. The only problem is it kind of fills the same role that Polukranos plays. So it's very hard to put both a Polukranos and a Hydra Broodmaster in the same deck. It also is kind of the same route as the Stormbred Dragon. Again, it feels like a card that puts out that's already valuable that you can actually have more value by monstrosity. And currently right now there's 2 mythics that I think are slightly better, if not incredibly better than the Hydra Broodmaster. Even though, again, because monsters you get to put in so many tokens, so it definitely could be a sleeper. We have to wait and see what the next format is going to be like. I've explained this to people before that sometimes you'll get a reprint and the card won't see play. Like for example, Urza's Rage and Call of the Herd. Both of those cards back in, I want to say Apocalypse is the set that they are. Yeah, one at Planeshift Apocalypse and whatever that set was. I think that's when those were printed. Maybe I'm wrong. But one of those, Call of the Herd, is a nearly unplayable card at the moment. If it was in Standard, I don't know how much play it would see. But at the time, in a format that was riddled with counterspells and a lot of 1-for-1ing, Call of the Herd, which is 4 mana for a 3/3 elephant token and then 3 mana to flash it back, was an incredibly powerful card because they had to counterspell it twice. And so formats mean everything. It really depends what cards are good and what. And, okay, here's another example. Desecration Demon was borderline unplayable in the format before, and then after Innistrad rotated out, all of a sudden Desecration Demon became a powerhouse because it was a lot better able to prevent the removal with Thoughtseize than it was during the time. I mean, Thoughtseize has enabled so many cards. Thoughtseize enabled Packrat. Thoughtseize enabled Desecration Demon by being proactive in getting rid of the removal that would then get rid of those, either the Packrat or the Desecration route. So the Hydra Broodmaster might fall into that category if we see a later game where you kind of need to go over the top of your opponent type format. Then Hydra Broodmaster definitely could see play by going monstrous, being a 7/7 already, so it's going to outclass basically everything for 6 mana, and then monstrosity it. The following turn you can generate, even if you generate it for the next turn for 7 mana, then you will get 5, 6, you'll get 2 2/2s and it will become a 9/9. But still, you have 2 2/2s and a 9/9 you have to deal with, and then but if you wait even one more turn, then you'll have 3 3/3s. With the mana available, or like I said, if you can generate even more mana by using its devotion or whatever shenanigans, then Hydra Broodmaster can just be a finisher by creating so many tokens. Alrighty, so it's got another cool card, Nemesis Immortals. I don't really think it fits in this deck at all. I think you'd probably want any other monstrosity creature because you're not going to be getting many things in the graveyard. So this one, you'll definitely want to cut and find a better replacement for. Arbor Colossus is nice with the Nykthos Shrine of Nyx because, again, this is a deck that is trying to go over the top. Nessian Game Warden is actually a really, really cool card because you look at the top X cards of your library, depending on how many forests you have, and you can reveal a creature card and put it into your hand. So, I mean, I think this card really wants to be in a mono green deck, though, because you want to maximize the amount of forests and you are 2-to-1 Mountain to Forest in this deck, and then you can actually make it even a lot better with adding Stomping Grounds. But again, I think this is more into a mono green devotion, adding the Nykthos Shrine to Nyx. And again, Nisium Game Warden feels very inferior to like Groove Primal Hunter. So again, we'll have to wait till rotation if this wants to see any play. And at the moment, Groove Primal Hunter sees very, very little play either. Then Nylea's Disciple, that helps him stabilize, of course. But it's funny because you probably wouldn't want Nylea's Disciple versus the Fate deck. I think they should have made these decks good against each other, have hate against each other. But I think they focus too much on meshing the two together because these decks feel very similar. They're both going for a mid-range strategy rather than really competing against each other. So Karamage Acolyte, nothing wrong with that. It's more another way to ramp. But again, it wants to be in here with the Prophet of Kruphix. So I guess you can see how they mesh them together is fine. And we have some filler cards in Ill-Tempered Cyclops, Nessian Corsair, and whatnot. But the real gem out of this, and the real reason why people are going to buy this, is Corsair Kruphix. Corsair Kruphix continues to go up because it does see play in Commander, sees heavy play. Every green deck wants this in Commander. It's just very, very juicy in a green Commander. Most green decks want to ramp in Commander. And even if you don't want to ramp in Commander, this is a very, very just solid card to get lands off the... You never have to draw another land. You can always play them in Corsair Kruphix. So there's so much library manipulation in Commander that it just fits very well with a ton of strategies. But this card actually sees a lot of play in Modern in the new black-green, what they like to call the rock deck. And usually they run a total of 3 or 4 of Corsair Kruphix because it is so good in today's Modern, where if you need to compete against Pod, where Pod's going to get card advantage and threaten to combo off, you do need to be as efficient as possible with your disruption. And Corsair, again, tries to guarantee that you're not just whiffing into lands, that if you do have a land on top, you can just play it, and then you can draw on your Maelstrom Pulses and Abrupt Decays and everything else, all your other ways to actually lock out your Pod opponent or Splinter Twin opponent or whatnot. So Corsair Kruphix is going to be around $17, $18, so it's going to pay for half of this deck. And I think if you do add up the cost of Corsair Nykthos Temple of Mystery and Prophet of Kruphix, you are right on the threshold of $30. So definitely, it needed a card like Corsair Kruphix in it to really make it valuable. I do think that they could have safely put in one more chase card, maybe a Temple in the Fury side too. So you got to have a Temple in the Fate and Temple in the Fury. But maybe come rotation that these do. Some people anticipate these to going up to like $10. I have a hard time thinking that. Maybe the cards not out of Theros will go there, but Theros, because of the double PTQ season that was sealed using Theros packs, Theros has been opened at such a crazy rate that I have a hard time thinking that Theros is going to go up in a lot of price unless we see a huge influx of new players like we did the last time. Anyway, we'll go over to the premium cards. So there is that alternate Temple of Mystery. So I guess that might actually add to the value. We'll have to wait and see. The alternate Prognostic Sphinx. Because again, Temple of Mystery is something that is going to be played in every green and blue Commander deck. It's just another way to help fix your colors, and you get that scry off of it. And people now that have played the Scrylands have realized how wonderful scrying... people have said it's about a third of a card. It's like drawing a third of a card. And the Prophet of Kruphix might be a little chase card. Kind of shaking my head at this Font of Fertility. It's kind of a cool card. I like it in draft, but... And then Fated Intervention, too, is kind of a meh rare. But Hydra Broomaster, that's cool. It looks so similar. Most of these arts do look very, very similar to the regular versions, though. I guess that's enough. Still a Hydra protecting its nest. But anyway, all in all, I think this is a... I'm gonna give it a 7 out of 10, maybe a 7.5 out of 10. There's been better event decks in the past, but I kind of like the direction they're going. Let me know in the comments what you think about it, what you would have added or got rid of. One of the things that I don't like is most of the event decks had very efficient cards no matter what. Like all the commons and uncommons were really good. And what kind of loses the point for me is just putting in some nonsense cards like Ill-Tempered Cyclops that just have better commons that you can replace it with, and like the Nemesis Immortals, and then just, I don't know, I think that they just got a little bit lazy on those on those cards. They could have found better on commons and commons. Anyway, this has been Kevin with RogueDeckBuilder.com. Thanks for watching.